Scratcher's Got Talent lesson today, and that means that we're going to be going through some of the music projects that you can build on Scratch. First thing we're going to be looking at today is recording and editing sounds. So that means I'm going to try to record some of the sounds in Scratch, and hopefully you will be able to edit them sounds as well. Sometimes this doesn't go to plan, guys, so we do have a backup if that does. Next thing we're going to be looking at is adding songs and instruments to projects as well, which can be loads of fun as well. And then at the very end, I'm going to show you all how to get started in our new competition, creating a talent show. So the first thing to do is our sounds in Scratch. When you want to add sounds in Scratch, you need to use the sound library. And there's three ways of doing it. There's the sound library, you can record sounds, and you can also import sounds as well. So if we have a look at the sounds tab in Scratch, you can see, let me just grab my pen here. You can see that we have three buttons here, and there's our sound library. We have a button for recording as well, and if you want to, you can also import sounds as well from your computer. If you already know how to do this, guys, don't worry, there's going to be a little bit extra in the lesson, so don't feel like you have to switch off now. We're going to get to everything today. In fact, let's begin by some of the projects I'm going to be showing you. In today's lesson, I wanted to show you something really cool that I came up with yesterday, and it's called the Super Mario Notes theme. So I'll give it a replay, see if you guys can hear it. As for what's happening next, let's have a look at our Angry Pong project, because this is the one I wanted to show you to start off today's lesson. You might have noticed, if you remixed my project, or if you had a look at the Backgrounds tab, that there's a song on it called Play Sound Angry Birds. If you play it, and I suppose I should give everybody the link again, so let me see. There's it there. Everybody should get the link to that one as well. If you start playing the project, you'll be able to hear the Angry Birds theme song in the background. And so what we're trying to get around it, guys, is if you want to play blocks like that, you absolutely can. You can add sounds to it. But you have to be very careful of copyright infringement, because over 40,000 projects have been removed from Scratch because they have unauthorized audio in their projects. So that means, for the likes of my lesson 2, the Angry Bird song needs to be deleted, which means we can't get it. So that's what we need to look at today in Scratch. We need to look at the blocks in Scratch. How can we play sounds? How can we add notes? So if guys are still a little worried about the audio, it just means that the audio is not playing from the computer. You should all still be able to hear my voice talking, which is absolutely fine, and we'll get it working in the recording of the lesson, so don't worry too much about it. Everybody with me? Just type 1 if you are, and 0 if you cannot hear me. Yeah, everybody can still hear. Okay, so we'll just get back into it for the moment, and we'll stop interrupting the flow. So as I said, we're going to be looking at the blocks in Scratch. We're going to be looking how to play sounds, just like we did with the Angry Bird sound there. We're going to be looking at using the play sound block and the play sound until done. And my personal favorite, the play notes as well. So if you're in any way musically inclined, you can use it to set an instrument, like we had with our Mario project. You can play a note for 0.5 beats or 0.25 beats. And you can play drums as well. There are over 21 instruments to choose from as well in Scratch, which means you have every option to play, whether it's guitar, whether it's piano. You can use whatever instrument you like. Does anybody here play an instrument? Type it into the chat box if you do, and maybe say what instrument it is that you do play. So lots of people typing in guitar, violin, piano. This is excellent. There's all really creative people on this course. Flute to whistle, trumpet, sax, loads of things. And soon Andy's going to be playing a harp as well. Well, this is brilliant. We've got a very musical group, so I'm expecting loads of great musical projects from you all. For instance, let's have a look at who can read this. So this is Mario Scratch. This is one of the guys in Show Academy who teaches music. Actually helped me make a Mario score on a piano. So these are the notes that play out on the piano. If you can't open the links to handout, guys, don't worry about it. Just download it for the moment. I'll be uploading a new one tomorrow anyway, so it's okay for the moment. What's in the links document is a link to this Mario Scratch website, and you can see the full score there. So as I said, you can read the notes, you can say E, E, rest, E, C, E, and that sort of thing. Now, I hadn't a clue how to do this because I'm not a musical person, you guys. But after talking with our good educator, Donal, he was able to show me that you can turn these notes into blocks. So let's look at creating the first part today. And to do that, I'm going to have to give you guys a copy of our Super Mario starter project. So let's make sure everybody gets this one. I'll send it there. And send to all here. Don't worry if you didn't get Angry Pong, guys. You can always get it from the studio as well. So everybody says they can read it. There's a few people saying I cannot read this, and Farah, you're saying E E C E G G C G E A B B A G E G. Well, that's okay, because guys, if you can't read those notes, let's have one more look at them. That's absolutely fine, because Scratch doesn't expect you to know how to read these notes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to, just a little bit, and show how you can turn these notes into blocks. The first thing you need to do, guys, is set the tempo, because here we have 4 notes in a bar. So there's going to be always 4 notes here, and each note is going to be played for 1 quarter. So everybody know what a quarter is? I'm assuming we do. Just type 1 if you do, and 0 if you don't. Yep, lots of 1s coming in. There's a few zeros. So a quarter is 1/4 of a unit. So if we take our bar here, is our unit, and we split it up into 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we can say this note plays for 1 quarter, and then so does the second one. And then this is a rest note. So that means that it's going to take a break. There's going to be no sound for a quarter of a beat. That's why we set the tempo to equal 100. Because now, when the tempo is equal to 100, we could say, let's play the note for 0.25 beats. Because 1 quarter equals 0.25. So let's have a look at playing some notes as well. But before I do that, I'll quickly get into my Scratch lesson, and we can start making it. Oops, use this one here. You can see I already have the code ready to go, waiting for everybody. If we started from scratch, what we're going to be doing is grabbing our green flag and saying, let's set the tempo to, instead of saying 60 beats, we're going to say 100, because that's going to make it easier for us to program it. Oh, I should probably get rid of my pen marks there. Give me 1 second. And there we go. Get rid of that for you. So now we have play note 64 for 0.25 beats. And how did I know to play note 64? Well, if we look at the instrument, so if we set our instrument, let's set it to 16 for the moment, the vibraphone. If we take our play note block out, we can see what looks like a piano, and that'll tell us which keys to press to play the notes. So the first note that we've seen here was the E note. So you might not be able to see what the letters are, but I'm telling you that the first letter is E. And it's pretty high up on the sheet, so we know it's a fairly high E. So if we go on to our middle of our keyboard, we go upwards from that, we can see E. And E is equal to 64. So if I click on 64, I can play 64, and we don't want to play it for half a beat, we want to play it for a quarter of a beat. So we play it to 0.25 beats. And we can add it in there. If we need to play the same beat over and over again, we can use a loop. So we can use a repeat to play another E note, take a rest for a quarter of a beat, and then do the same again. And that's what we do here when we have our E and our rest, and then we have our E and our rest again. And then we play some other notes as well. So that's what we'll look at doing next. We'll just grab our repeat block, and don't forget to change it from 10 to 2 because I did that when I was creating the full song and I had to listen to the same part over and over again before it finished. So learn from my mistakes, you guys. And as we said, we're going to change this to 64 as well. We're going to change it to 0.25 and that would be it there. Then it gets a little bit more complicated because it's okay when there's a loop and you can repeat the same loop over and over again, but if each note is different and each rest break is different, then you end up with a wall of code that looks a bit like this. So we have our play note 60, play note 64, rest for 0.25 beats, and then play notes again. So let's quickly look at running these blocks together and then you guys will be able to see what the sound makes at the end. Now, let me see 1 second. So we need to grab our play note. We're going to be using the play note 60 for 0.25. And what I'll do, guys, I'm just going to duplicate that block because I won't have to change 0.25 every time. And I can change it to 64 for this one. Then I'll grab my rest for 0.25 beats. And I can duplicate both of these blocks to make it a little bit easier again. So after going through each note and listening to it, the score sheet that we had, which is just over here, I knew which notes to play by looking at the piano. Just in case anyone's coming late to the lesson, we're looking at the Mario theme song. And we're learning how to play it. So we had our play note 67, and this time I'm going to use 0.75 beats, and the reason for that, you guys, is because we had a quarter note rest and a half note rest as well. So altogether that's 1 quarter, and maybe we'll say 2 quarters together. So instead of doing rest for 0.25 beats and then rest for 0.5 beats, we can just add it all together and turn it into rest for 0.75 beats. And then that means we can use less code as well. So then finally, just to get that last note, we can use a lower G note, we'll use G55, and we'll rest for 0.75 beats again. What we can do now is add a forever loop to make it play over and over again. So I know you guys won't be able to hear it, but if you have been following along with the lesson, press play on your project now, and you'll be able to hear the songs playing. So let's look at some of the key points that we've just learned there at the moment, you guys. We've looked at adding sounds to the projects. We learned how to play a few instruments as well. So that means if you know how to read music scores like this, and this is a piano one, then you'll learn how to create the songs in Scratch as well. So you'll be able to play that note, which we know E is equal to 64, and we know how to look at a note and say that's a quarter note, and then we can rest for 0.25 because that's another quarter. So what I'm trying to get you guys to think of is that programming and coding isn't always about maths and code and everything. You can actually get very creative. Like we've seen in the last lesson, you can do art projects, but you can also do musical projects as well. So why don't you try creating your own musical notes, maybe for your favorite theme song, from your favorite TV show or your favorite game. Or you could try playing it on your piano even if you'd like, as Emma's apparently going to do. So now, guys, we have a bit of time. I'm going to show you all about our talent show project. So what I want you to do, and this is going to be our competition, is I want you guys to create a playable music project. Whether you want to import sounds, maybe you want to create your own song, or maybe you just want to add sound effects to your game. For instance, let's go back to our Angry Pong project. And I realized I've forgotten to show you what to do if you want to play your own song here. You go into the Sounds tab, choose a sound from the library, and if you need a specific one like animal, you can use maybe bird, or you can use squawk. Let's maybe do a quick poll to see which one we should use. Which one do you think we should use, guys? Let me launch it here. So which one do you think we should use? Should we use Squawk or Bird for the Angry Bird when he wants to hit the paddle? Ooh, we're getting a very even poll here. It's going to be very close. Bird was in the lead, but now it's Squawk. So let's go have a look. We're going to give it another 3 seconds because 65% of you have all voted. So we're waiting on the last couple of people. And we're going to give it 3, 2, 1. And the poll is closed with 47% Bird and 53% Squawk. So let's go with Squawk. And we can add it in there. Oh, added it into the wrong one. But here it is anyway. And what we can do, guys, is we can add the block in here. We have our play sound, or we have our play sound until done. Now, the difference between these two blocks is simply how long is that sound? That sound is 0.37 seconds long. So if you are going to be using a sound that's that short, you can use it. Just put in play sound and just continue on with the code. Because then it'll continue moving, it'll continue turning and changing the score. Whereas if we use the play sound Squawk until done, it's going to make all of the blocks underneath it wait until the sound is played out. So we'll use our play sound until done block for our backdrop. And if you go into the sound library for the backdrop, you can use one that I've already put in, which is the dance slow-mo. If you go into your music loop section, you can see loads of different musical loops that over and over again run through. And if we check out the dance slow-mo, we can see the dance slow-mo is actually 20 seconds long. So that's a really long song. And we can see how it changes as we go along. So if we want to, we can use the play sound dance slow-mo 2 until done. And then when we play the project, well, you'll be able to hear the sounds if you're watching the recording. So a couple of questions coming in, and some people saying I sound a bit like a robot again, so I apologize for that. I have a wee bit of a cold at the moment, so just a little bit robotic, I'm afraid. Let's take some of the questions that are coming in before we continue on. Can you import music from YouTube or record it? Well, Rachel, if you want to import music from YouTube, you absolutely can. You go to your sounds and you can hit upload sound from file and you can do it into your project there. However, you have to be very careful of copyright infringement, because if you're using a copyrighted song, Scratch will take your project down. They'll tell you that you have to unshare your project and take it off the Scratch website. And if you're using, what was the other part of it? Can you record it? You absolutely can record music as well. So if you want to record your own sound, you can click on new sound here and you can press the record button. So I'll give it a shot now, see if we can do it. Just allow the Scratch server with its permissions. So you can say allow, and then say allow in the browser as well. And then when you start talking, you'll be able to start recording. So if we stop, we can hear that my voice has been recorded. So now, if we want to do some sound effects, maybe we want to create our own Angry Bird sound effect. Maybe Squawk's just a little bit weird. We can record a new sound and go, and it'll pick up as well. But now we have a really long break where there's no sound, and then there's a really long break where there's no sound afterwards. So what we need to do there is edit the code. So first of all, just click and drag your mouse across, and you'll be able to drag the edit the line there. And then you can right click on it and delete all of the excess sound that we don't need. There's also option, guys, for adding effects in, so you can use the fade in or the fade out effect. You can say louder, softer as well, or you can reverse the song as well, which some scratchers really like to do. They like putting the reverse of a song into a project and working it that way. So what we can do now is change the name of recording by going into the text box up here. Say, we'll call this one My Squawk. And then, if you want to see how to change it, go to our play sound block, which is just here, and change it down to my squawk. So now that when we play the project, we'll be able to hear the recording of my voice when the Angry Bird hits off the paddle. And feel free to check that out when you get a bit of time. So let's get back to our talent show. We've now looked at recording sound effects. We've looked at maybe if you wanted to create a song for your one, but the key part of the talent show, guys, is that it's a playable project. Something that you can have if you press a button, your guys will start singing, or maybe you want to create a piano on your keyboard, and when you type on the keyboard, it'll start playing piano notes. So this is what I'm getting at. And I probably don't really have time to get into this next project, but I'll show you a quick version of it, and you can always play it back and through the recording to see how the code works. So let's have a look at those 3 gobos that we've seen in the project. First of all, we can add the sprite, tell them where to start, how to look, and we can do that by adding our looks tab. We get some blocks to set the size, maybe switch the costume to a specific one, and make sure that it's showing on the screen. Then we can tell them where to go by using our motion blocks, using our go to X and Y, and giving it the coordinates that it needs to put it exactly where we want on the page. Then you can use the point in direction of -90 and the set rotation style to make them point left or right. And then what we can do to actually play the song is we can broadcast an event to say, let me see, when you receive song 1, you can then change Y to make him look like he's jumping. So change Y by +10. Switch the costumes to make him look like he's animated. And then of course play the song. So you can notice I'm using the play sound until done block here, because it's a longer sound, it's a song. And we don't want anyone else doing anything else until the song is done. Then you can change Y by -10, make him jump back down onto the ground. And don't forget of course to add your song as well. And do that for as many of these gobos as you'd like. So if we take a look at the Scratch projects, you can see my talent show that we have here. And I've already included a few gobos with some sounds as well. So we have our Triumph, our drum machine, and our duck. So if I click on duck, you can see him jumping up on the screen. If I click on my gobo 2, he might jump up for a little bit longer. Until he finishes his song. Alright Tom, you might have to just leave the chat room if you're going to be doing what you're doing. Otherwise I wouldn't advise telling everyone else what it is you're doing. So now we have the singer. And the singer I decided to go a little bit different because I figured, well, we're using aliens for our talent show here. So we can use a sprite that maybe sings an instrument instead. So instead of singing words, you can use an instrument. And in this case, I used the piano. So what I did was I created a note variable to begin with. Then I added an animation by using the purple blocks, again, which is the looks tab. You can use absolutely any sprite you'd like to. And then you can create a note that says, when I receive the message Giga Sing, we can play the note. And notice how I'm playing the note for 0.5 beats. That's half a second. So we don't have to wait until the song is done because we're using the play note block. So let's have a look at adding this code into my project now. The first thing I need to do is click on Giga, grab my green flag and tell her to go just to where she's standing right now so I can drag my go-to block in. I then need to set the instrument because we can set it to whatever instrument we'd like. And maybe for this one I'll set it to an electric piano. Then we can go to our looks tab to make sure that she's looking the way that we want it to. So we can use the switch costume and we can see we have 4 costumes to choose from. So let's have a look at them costumes. We have Giga A, B, C, and D. So D doesn't look very impressed. Maybe we'll start with Giga A. And of course, just in case she's not showing up on the project, we'll add a show block in there as well. Then we can go to our events tab, where we can use the when I receive song 1, or we can create a new message called Giga Sing. Now that we have that in, we can say, let's switch the costume to Gika B. And the reason I'm using the switch costume blocks is because it makes the project or the talent show a little bit more animated. And we get to have a little bit of fun experimenting with it. We also can use a play note block to play the keyboard by using a data tab, making a variable called note, and using it for all sprites. So if we change it, instead of saying 60 in here, we put the variable note in, we can now change the variable from our sprite cat, and then it'll play a different note each time we receive the message. So all we need to do left is switch the costume to Gika C, and we've completed our animation. So now we need to be able to make the game playable, and this is what I'm trying to get you guys to do for me as well. Let's have a look at the conductor, where we can control the chorus, which is our gobos, by using broadcast song 1 and wait. And we use broadcast song 1 and wait because we want to wait until their song is finished, and then we can go again. In this case, I used a forever loop, and I used an if block to do key 1, key 2, and key 3. And for each one, I broadcast a different message called song 1, song 2, and song 3. And that lets the gobos play whatever song they'd like. So if I click into my Scratch Cat, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here, guys, because I'm running out of time. I've already written the code, and here it is. So if we look at it, we have if our key 1 is pressed, we can broadcast the block song 1 and wait. And if you don't know where to get the broadcast song 1 block, it's right here in our events at the bottom. Then we need to be able to do the same for Gika. So we can control the singer as well, and maybe get the player to be able to play the piano. We can use it to set the note. Instead of saying the note is 60 all the time, we can set it to 58 or 43 or whatever note we want to play on the piano. Then we can use the message broadcast because the note only plays for 0.5 seconds, and it means we'll be able to press loads of keys at the same time. So in this case, I normally just do Q, W, and E because that's all I ever have time to do in the lesson. But for you guys, because it's a competition, I figured I'd better show you just a little bit more. So like I did with the last block of code, I'm going to add it in here. And what I've done is I've created code for Q, W, E, or, and if I scroll down, T, Y, U, I, O, and P. And as we notice, all of the code is doing the exact same thing. The only major difference is I'm using the broadcast block here to say broadcast Gika Sing, and then set the note to 48. So as we play and we press each keyboard and our key on the keyboard, we'll be able to change the note variable and make Gika sing a different song or a different note. So now we have everything we need to create a talent show. And maybe you want to create an alien talent show, like who's got the most talent, or you want to create Scratch Factor. But now it's up to you guys. And I'll make sure to share the project so that everybody can see it. So if I go click on my project page, the project is saved. So I'll just copy that into the chat box for you guys to see now, and you can experiment with it, see what works and what doesn't. And hopefully everybody got that. If you didn't, you can always send me an email after the lesson. I'll be able to send the links on to you. Because now it's coming to the end of the lesson, guys. It's your turn to do it. Create your own talent show. Maybe record your own sound effects for some of the gobos to sing. Or maybe record an instrument being played, and you can use that for your Gika singer.